Hello, and welcome to the Building Rapport online asynchronous module. Make sure you have your handout ready to go so you can follow along as we go through it. So, today we are going to be going over a few topics. Here, I have listed some of the main points that will be addressed in this video. The first thing we will explore is the importance of building the mentoring relationship and creating rapport. This is important because we want to understand what both topics are and why they are relevant in mentorship. Next, we will dive into how to create and maintain rapport within your mentoring relationship. This will deal with techniques and ways of navigating rapport in mentorship. And lastly, we will go over some of your handout exercises. But before we do get into all of that, it is important to recognize and ground ourselves on the land. With that, I would like to invite you to take a moment to pause and reflect on the land that you occupy. Think of one thing that you are grateful about for the land that you are on. In the meantime, I will acknowledge the traditional land that the University of Toronto occupies. The University of Toronto operates on the land of the Huron-Wendat and Petun First Nations, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit River. I believe that it is our duty to learn about and from our past, continue to listen to the teachings of those around us, and use our privilege to speak up to injustice. I invite you to think about how we can continue this work of peaceably sharing and caring for the resources of this land and all of the people who live here. Today, the meeting place of Toronto is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community and on this territory. Thank you for sharing in this moment with me across virtual space and time. So, what is rapport in mentorship? According to the Oxford English Dictionary, rapport is defined as a close and harmonious relationship in which the people or groups concerned understand each other's feelings or ideas and communicate well. Building an effective relationship of mutual understanding and trust with the mentee is a critical component of effective mentoring. Mentors can establish rapport with their mentees by using effective interpersonal communication skills, actively building trust, and maintaining confidentiality. Rapport is about building this mutual respect, and from there, you are able to influence each other in a reliable and trusting way. Rapport is so important for how it helps to progress and further your mentoring relationship. And as such, in this module, we seek to help you understand this concept and its implications deeply. Rapport will help you to maintain a fruitful, reciprocal mentorship, one that you know you and your mentee can depend on for support. You might now be thinking about what the importance of rapport and building relationships actually is. Why do they matter? And there are some important ways to address this. Firstly, by building your relationship and establishing rapport, you are creating a solid starting point for your mentoring relationship to thrive off of. In creating this solid foundation, you need to consider the aspects of rapport, trust, and environment. By understanding the different nuances to these considerations, you are able to set the stage for a comfortable and trusted environment that both you and your mentee can feel confident to share in. This is especially important because mentorship relationships are not static. They are always changing, they are dynamic. So, in creating this first solid foreground of rapport and trust, your mentoring relationship is able to withstand and organically change and adapt over the course of time in ways that are most suitable to both parties. But all of this does beg the question of how? How do I create rapport within my mentoring relationship? Well, one way is through matching and mirroring. In your handout, you will notice that there are three main ways in which you can use verbal and nonverbal cues to establish rapport. You can match and or mirror your mentee through body language, voice, and words. All three of these forms are a means of interpersonal communication, which is a person to person, two-way sharing of information between two or more persons. In the context of mentoring, you can create rapport through good communication as it helps to develop a positive working relationship between the mentor and mentee. This helps the mentee to better understand directions and feedback from the mentor, feel respected and understood, and be motivated to learn from the mentor. Mentees learn best from mentors who are sincere, approachable, and non judgmental. These qualities are communicated primarily by facial expressions and by words. People often remember how more about how a subject is communicated than the speaker's knowledge of the subject, which is why we definitely want to hone in on these aspects of rapport and communication. Body language tells those with whom we are communicating with a great deal about what we are thinking and feeling. Examples of positive or open body language include eye contact, depending on the culture, open or relaxed posture, nodding or affirmation, pleasant facial expressions, and appropriate attire, meaning please don't show up in pajamas to a mentorship hangout. Examples of negative or closed body language include crossed arms, averted eyes, and pointing fingers. The mentor needs to be aware of what he or she is communicating non-verbally, as well as what the mentee is communicating non-verbally. So always remember that your body language gives a very important indication to your mentee and can really affect the flow and content of your discussion. Be inviting in your body language and demonstrate attentiveness so that your mentee can match and mirror this behavior as well to lead to a fruitful conversation. Next up, we want to think about the words that we use in conversation with mentees. Three crucial things to focus on when engaging in dialogue is clean language, so making sure that what we are saying is straightforward, accessible, and appropriate. Then there are also common experiences that you can highlight, as well as key phrases to keep in mind when sticking to a particular theme of discussion. Verbal communication is a component of most mentoring activities, which include one on one sessions where the mentee may or may not be present, meetings between a team of mentors and a team of mentees, email or phone conferences, or training sessions between mentors and mentees. When mentoring, effective communication involves more than just providing information or giving advice. It requires asking questions, listening carefully, trying to understand a mentee's concerns or needs, demonstrating a caring attitude, remaining open minded, and helping to solve problems. There are many communication skills that mentors can utilize to effectively communicate with mentees. You can use active listening techniques where You really listen to what a mentee is saying and remain fully engaged in the task of listening. You can also ask mentees questions that cannot be answered with a simple yes or no. Open ended questions encourage a full, meaningful answer using the mentee's own knowledge and feelings, whereas close ended questions encourage a short or single word answer. So, these are some ways in which you can use words to fully engage in a conversation. Now, we also need to take into account the online space that we have come to know as a viable way forward in sustaining mentoring relationships. That said, it makes sense to learn about how to build rapport in virtual time, as it provides a really unique opportunity for mentorship. It is important to understand that while the virtual world has a lot of benefits, it also possesses barriers on the flip side. Some people find it to be intimidating and disconnecting, so they prefer in person mentoring, whereas others find it to be more accessible and empowering to connect with people online. By being aware of the different factors that are at play in an online mentoring space, you are better positioned to navigate that space. On your handout, you have a list of considerations that you can take to heart when thinking of online mentorship. What sticks out to you? What's a barrier that resonates with you? What benefits resonate with you? Reflect on what these considerations can mean and take special note of the barriers that don't apply to you because they could apply to your mentees, and you want to ensure that you are understanding and compassionate to experiences that are different than yours that you might not have thought of before. There are important aspects of confidentiality, distractions, technology barriers, and comfortability to think about when conducting or engaging in an online mentorship. So, let's review some of the key takeaways from this module. The first is that building rapport and fostering these positive relationships allows you and your mentee to derive maximum benefit from your relationship. Don't discount the power of these two foundational concepts. They're great stepping stones to help your mentoring relationship blossom into its full potential. Remember also that rapport is one of the key ways to build trust and respect, values that are deeply embedded within any successful mentorship. Keep in mind what we talked about in terms of body language, voice, and words, along with their verbal and nonverbal power in building rapport. And lastly, be mindful of the online space and how that can and does affect a mentoring experience. Finally, we just want to go over some of the exercises that you will complete in your handout. The first exercise you have is a rapport exercise. For this activity, you will need to find a partner and ask them about something that they are interested in. For the first step, discuss their chosen subject with them for 2 whole minutes. Set a timer if you need to. At some point during this, match your partner's body language and disagree or mismatch the verbal content of the discussion. Take note of how this affects the conversation and jot down what were the impacts of your behavior on your partner's reaction in your handout. Next, you want to continue to discuss the subject for 2 more minutes. This time, we want you to mismatch the body language and match the verbal content of your discussion. Again, jot down what the impact was on your partner's behavior. For the last part, continue your discussion for 2 minutes. During this time, match your partner's body language and match the verbal content of the discussion. This time, note down what the impact was on your partner's behavior. Next up, we have the gaining trust exercise. Here, we would love for you to think about what behaviors are important to gain someone's trust. Jot them down. You also have a few examples in your handout to reflect on and build off of. Lastly, we have the environment exercise. The question for this activity is, what do you need to consider about the environment in order to build the best relationship with the person you are mentoring? Again, there are some examples in your handout to guide your reflection. And that brings us to the end of this module. Thank you for your participation.